Yo, what's up guys, it's your boy Nitrostorm here. Welcome back to Revive the Witch. So I'll try and make this as quick and easy as possible. I will be talking about re-rolling, who to go for, and my advice for the different types of players out there. So people going for meta or people going for waifus and stuff like that. People playing for fun. Don't worry, I got you guys. I'll try and cover it all in this video. In any case, let's get started. So as you can see here, over 150k of us have pre-registered on Reroll Revived Witch website, and we're able to obtain all of these rewards. So the first reward, we're able to get mana, which is essentially the gold system in this game. Pretty useful, able to level up characters, ascend them and everything else. And then we also get stamina elixirs, which is essentially giving us 60 stamina to do more quests, etc. Next reward, we're able to get something called Soul Cryolites. We get 5 of them. These are essentially the singles in this game. I would suggest saving these until you get 10 of them because you're able to combine them into a multi. So, which is this one. The next, a third tier reward. We get 1 large Soul Cryolite. This is essentially the multi that I'm talking about. Combine 10 of these, you'll get 1 of these. Pretty straightforward. And last but not least, we have the Warped Hin Synestia, which is this character, the mini toenail that I mentioned to you in the previous video. And this is very good because of her kit being very similar to Toenail. You essentially don't need to pull for Toenail herself, and you could just like rely on RNG to get Toenail later without pulling for her, if that makes sense. But yeah, this is very big. You can skip Toenail altogether when rerolling, which is very nice. Alright guys, next part of the video we're going to be talking about the reroll process. So once you start the game, you'll get into this tutorial area, you'll do all this stuff, do your tutorial fights, and then eventually you'll get to the hub, like the main hub of the game, and they'll make you do a reroll multi. As in, you have to do this first until you're able to move on to the next thing, if I'm not mistaken. But in any case, this is the reroll multi that they make you do. So if you take a look here, the first limited summon allows you to perform 10 times summons for 100 times. When you're satisfied with current dolls summoned, you tap confirm to lock the summoning result. So let me just show you a quick example of that. So this is what the reroll multis will look like. So you do a summon and then you press confirm if you like it. You press summon if you don't like it, and you'll do it again. Now, I have some bad news for you guys. UR is not guaranteed in every multi. SSR is not guaranteed every multi. The number of SRs you can obtain can range from 1 to 9 or 1 to 10, really. You can get as many SRs as your luck will give you, and same with the number of Rs. Now, the maximum of SSRs you can get in these reroll multis is 1, and the maximum number of URs you can get in these multis is also 1. Now that that's out of the way, let's take a look again back at the 4 UR characters you're able to obtain in this reroll multi. So we have A Fallen, Toenail, Akasha, and Caledonia. Now, you will only be able to obtain one of these 4 when you get a UR on these reroll multis. So, if you are wishing for someone like Ella, Mine, Amanami, or even Flora, then, hate to say it, but you're not going to be getting them unless you pull for their Awakening Summon, which is like a featured banner, or Soul Summon, which is the permanent standard banner. Now that's out of the way, now you have the option to choose one of these 4. Which of these 4 should you choose? So before we do that, I'll gloss over these 4 characters so you have a better understanding on what they do. But before I do that, I'll make it simple and call the order skills, the one with the that cost yellow, the first skill, and I'll call the chaos skills, the one that cost purple, the second skill. Alright, so for A Fallen, her first skill essentially creates a shield for herself, takes damage for all allies, and has immunity for herself, which is pretty good. Her second skill deals damage to all enemies, dispelling a buff and reducing their magical defense, and then her passive automatically activates the second skill after taking damage a certain number of times. Toenail, her first skill heals all allies and grants them a shield for 5 seconds. Her second skill is a charge, which gives everyone a regen type of heal, and on top of that gives them an attack buff and a damage buff, and then her passive generates 1 purple every 4 seconds. Akasha, her first skill deals damage to the enemy in the back row, can stack crit chance and crit damage buffs the more you keep using this skill. And then the second skill deals damage to the enemy in the back row 6 times. And if you defeat an enemy during this skill, the next target will be the next furthest back enemy. And for every hit, the damage will be increasing. And then her passive, when using the first skill, the second skill has a 10% chance to cost 1 purple. Last but not least, we have Caledonia. Her first skill is a charge, which heals all allies for 12% of a max health and then reduces damage taken by the team. Her second skill, she charges forward and knocks off all enemies in the path. So, the wording is a bit confusing, but I'm assuming she attacks everyone, and knock off is essentially an interrupt. So in this game, there's something called like interrupt, where you essentially stop the enemy from casting a certain attack if you time it correctly, and this is what knock off does. In any case, they're knocked off for half a second and they take physical damage equal to her own attack, 150% of it, and then within 10 seconds of that, when enemies take damage, their physical defense is reduced by 5% and can stack up to 100%. And then her passive, she essentially reduces her damage taken by 3% of her max health, and then for every 3% of her health lost, all debuffs on her will be removed. Alright, so now that's out of the way, now it's about choosing who you want between these 4. So as I've mentioned at the start of this video, we don't need to reroll for Toenail anymore, because in my opinion, Sineshuk does the job pretty much nearly as well as Toenail herself. A Fallen is a good contender because you can make an easy team around her, because the mages in this game that are currently out are very, very strong. Akasha, I would say she might be more for PvP, but her team composition might be a little more specific, so she might be harder to build around. And then for Caledonia, she is a physical debuffer and a physical tank, so she will work well with any character that does physical damage. And I think at the moment there's not many good physical characters out, that's why she might not shine as well as A Fallen at the moment. But a very good example that works well with Caledonia is Ella. So this is Ella. She is a destroyer, a physical DPS. Unfortunately, she is not in the first 4 URs you can choose from. You'll have to wait for the Awakening Banner that, as I've mentioned, where they will be featured. I think they take turns on who's featured, so you'll have to wait until Ella is featured to have a better chance of getting her. But in any case, Ella's first skill is an AoE to all enemies, which dispels their buff, reduces their attack, and if you're in dragon form, it also reduces their defense. And to become a dragon, you use her purple skill once, her second skill. Just use it once, she'll transform, and for the rest of the fight, she's a dragon. So you just transform once and spam this skill. And the reason why I'm saying that Ella works really well with Caledonia is that her first skill, Ella's first skill, is 3 cost, and Caledonia's second skill is also 3 cost. And now the way that this game works is that when you use a yellow skill, you get purple cost of the same amount. And because Ella is 3 cost, if you activate this, Caledonia will be able to activate this. So essentially you can just keep spamming these 2 skills, and while you do that, Caledonia will be able to heal all allies and reduce damage taken at the same time. Very, very fun combo. Alright, so I've given reasons as to why you should or maybe not pull for them. And just to quickly clarify, Caledonia and A Fallen, I would say, are pretty good contenders on who to choose from. More people would go for A Fallen because her kit herself is pretty good, and Caledonia, you could say, is more focused on physical DPS, because even if A Fallen is not in a magic team, she is still able to defend all allies because of her first skill, which is this one. This is a very universal skill, so she doesn't have to be in a magic team in order for it to be used effectively, and that's why people would recommend A Fallen instead of Caledonia as your first tank. Okay, so that's the meta talk out of the way pretty much. To summarize, A Fallen is first place, Caledonia is 2nd place, Akasha is 3rd place, and Tonel is 4th place. Tonel would be 1st in my opinion, but we get Sinesha for free, meaning we don't really need Tonel for that extra damage boost or the extra chaos. Sinesha herself will be able to cover the main role, the main purpose of using Tonel, which is to utilize the charge skill, and so Tonel is not needed for this launch. Alright, now it's time to move on to the next topic for the more cultured ones out there. Obviously, if you want to pick your favorite, all you have to do essentially is the easy answer. Pick the one that you like the most, you reroll for them, you get them, and then that's it, you're done. But you have to put in more effort for your favorite character. I mean, that's just not enough, guys. Now, it's pretty easy for A Fallen and Tonel if they're your favorites, because you can make a team around them very, very easily. But if it's someone like Caledonia, you need to put in a bit more effort. You need to plan out your team, save up for certain characters in order to make her shine very, very well. And especially for Akasha, she's probably the most difficult character to build around at launch. So you have to make sure that you pay attention to her kit, which I've shown you earlier, and research using the website that I've linked, and take a look at the different SSRs, SRs, and even R characters, and see which of them are able to synergize with Akasha. Now, obviously, an example of that would be Caledonia herself, because she debuffs physical defense for every hit that the enemy takes, and Akasha is a physical DPS, so there's already that. Now, technically, Tonel, Akasha, and Caledonia can count as a team, in my opinion, because she buffs attack, heals, increases damage dealt. She does the physical damage, and then she does the physical debuffing. One more thing before we move on. This is something very important for you guys out there. Not all characters have this, unfortunately, but certain characters do, and it's live 2D and changing art. So some characters can gain new arts when you ascend them. Some characters only gain live 2D when you ascend them. And some characters, well, a few characters gain both a new art and live 2D. So for those wondering, this is Ushpia, and if you're curious about her Ascent 4, this is what it looks like. So as you can see, big snake, you know, stuff like that, very nice. I've got you guys. I know some of you were wondering what it looks like, and here you go. Now, as I've mentioned, not everyone has this. Like, for example, Tonel and A Fallen do not have a live 2D version, only the original model when I did the closed beta. Maybe they've added it in for launch, hopefully that's the case. But this is a very important factor. You take a look at their ascension and see if they gain a new art, and if that art is what you want to go for. And if it is, that's essentially who you're going to reroll for, and then after you obtain them in that reroll, you're going to raise them and gain enough levels in order to attain their final art. In any case, we now have a kind of baseline in terms of having a better idea on who to go for, but let's not forget that we still have 5 singles and a multi given to us thanks to pre-registration, and now is to know what to do with those. So for example, let's say you got your favorite multi, you click confirm, and now you're back in this screen. You still have Awakening and Soul Summon left. So you, at this current state, you would have 15 pulls, but I would save the 5 singles, save it for later, only use the multi, and then you will choose between Awakening or Soul Summon. You would pick Awakening Summon if the character featured in the Awakening Summon banner is the character that you want. Otherwise, you would pull in the Soul banner and hopefully you get the character that you want from it, and then otherwise you would have to start over. Now, in terms of the actual reroll process, normally when games are released in global, the reroll process tend to either become worse or non-existent, as in like delete the game and re-download kind of thing. So I can't really tell you guys what to do in terms of how to reroll until the game actually comes out. So now that you're this far into the video, you should now have a better understanding as well as a good idea on which of the 4 URs you want to obtain. But let's not forget that we're able to obtain 1 SSR at most on top of getting the UR. So this section is essentially recommended SSRs to pull alongside these characters when pulling for them. So first thing to note is we get Sinesha for free, so that's the healer spot covered. So if you're pulling for a Fallen, you have a healer and a tank, now you want DPS, specifically magic because of a Fallen's skills being magic based. And so if we view this, the mages, the SSRs you'd want to go for is Maya or Ushpia. Both of them are SSR mages and very strong. So next up is Tonel, but because she's a healer, you wouldn't really want to use Sinesha and Tonel in the same team, so therefore you're going to be still missing 2 spots for your team. Now let's just move on to the recommended SSRs I would pull alongside her. So considering how the good tanks are both UR, I would again go for SSR DPS. Now, unfortunately, I don't think the current SSR DPS that are physical are that good compared to the 2 SSR mages, so again, I would recommend going for Maya or Ushpia alongside Tonel if you're pulling for Tonel. A good example being the example screenshot where this is the reroll that I've got in closed beta. So for those that want to essentially copy this reroll, hopefully you get that. Now in any case, moving on to Akasha. So Akasha is an assassin mainly based at dealing damage, so you essentially want someone to protect her. And since we have Sinesha already, the main characters that we'll be going for are tanks, well, guardians in this case. So out of all of these, between Luan, Setes, Yurugu and Avil, we would have to go with Luan. So if we take a look at her skills, as you can see here, for the next 10 seconds, all damage dealt to allies are redirected to Luan, who also gains a blessing, which reduces damage taken by 20% and restores 6% of her max health per second. So as you can see, she is basically like a mini A Fallen, and while she's not that effective compared to the UR tanks, she will be able to hold out enough to help you out and protect Akasha so that she can still keep doing damage. But if you don't want to reroll a tank alongside Akasha, then I guess the next best thing to reroll for is the mages again, Maya and Ushpia, just to go for like an all DPS kind of team. But yeah, see, outside of the UR tanks, the SSRs are not really that good. Now, Luan does seem to have a good kit. However, there might be a point where she might take too much damage from protecting every other ally from taking damage as she takes it for them. But, you know, I think it should be fine. So last but not least, we have Caledonia. And her missing piece, if you're rerolling for her, would be a physical DPS. And the 2 DPSs, the 2 SSR DPSs that I recommend would be Yui and Kaifon. Yui is a single target damage dealer that also dispels the buff of the enemy, which is very good. And her second skill is a transformation, so similar to Ella where you transform once, you gain a lot of benefits and then you just spam the first skill. And her skill being 3 cost synergizes well with Caledonia's second skill also being 3 cost. Now, Kaifon, she's the opposite essentially in the sense that her first skill instead attacks all enemies, and this will activate again if an enemy is defeated on activation of this skill, which is pretty nice and has potential to deal big damage. And her second skill, we'll just go over through it because we're going to be using Caledonia's second skill for the most part. But as you can see here, it does magic damage, which is, you know, kind of not good when it comes to using her with Caledonia. That's why we're emphasizing on her first attack. But in any case, The second skill deals magic damage and enters into Deathbringer status for 8 seconds. And Deathbringer is essentially the first skill will deal 30% more damage and can stack up to 90%. And furthermore, if the enemy's health is below 20%, the second skill will deal double damage. Alright, so we've pretty much covered 99% of the things that I wanted to go through. Hopefully you guys now have a better idea on how to reroll, who to reroll, and what to reroll for. Now for the last bit, this is just like an extra. This part is essentially who I'm going to reroll for. So first things first, I'm going to be re-rolling for Ushpia, definitely for the SSR pull. The UR, I'm considering going for Caledonia or A Fallen. Caledonia mainly because I wanted to do her comp with Ella. So Caledonia, Ella, and Tonel. That triple UR combo, I feel that it's a very fun combo to use. But if I change my mind, I'll be going back to re-rolling for Tonel and Ushpia, and then I'll hopefully re-roll for Amanami as well, and have this team which I've used to essentially decimate all content including PvP. And that's about it for my video, I think. If you guys have any more questions, please let me know down in the comment section below. Hopefully you guys found this video very useful. The game is going to be out soon, so hopefully you'll be able to find this video in time so that when the game drops, you know exactly what to do. It's been your boy Nitrostorm. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Let me know if you want me to make more Revived Witch content, as well as I do have a plethora of knowledge regarding this game. In any case, it's been your boy Nitrostorm. I'll see you guys in the next stream or video. Peace.